you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to MINDSHOCK True Crime. This is Bruce McGuire.
And Maxwell Powers.
And we have an interesting podcast today about podcasts. Once again, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like our podcasts, and also hit the bell notification to get updates when we upload new podcasts. You can also donate to our PayPal if you like the podcast. Check the link in the description, and check out our social media sites, Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter, and Patreon. So what do you think? You actually got me into podcasts, Maxwell, like years and years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't really know the deal with podcasts. I had heard them mentioned on websites, but I never actually listened to one until probably a year or two after you were telling me about them. I finally found some. I was like, "Wow, that's pretty interesting." Like you could actually do something while listening to the podcast. So it's not like a TV show or documentary where you got to, or even a website where you have to sit and read. You can actually absorb information while doing something else.
Yeah. Well, it first came out. Well, I think the podcast came out maybe a year or two after the iPods came out, and then when the iPhone hit the market, which was also an iPod in itself, everyone had an iPhone and an iPod in their pocket, and now eventually over time people got introduced to podcasts because people started listening to them, and it's really word of mouth that passed it out. Like it wasn't really like an advertised thing, like listen to podcasts or whatever. People just share like, "Oh, dude, you gotta listen to this podcast. It's so cool." That kind of. Well, that's how I got you into it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the first I ever heard of it was on websites. I was so used to being actively involved and reading, and like most of the time, if I would work out to music or whatnot, I would just be listening to music, or if I'm walking somewhere, it didn't really occur to me the efficiency of podcasts. Podcasts are efficient. You can clean your house and learn about anything. It's just very, very efficient.
Commuting is such a productive time to listen to podcasts. You know,
Yeah,
it makes a drive worthwhile. Like,
I think I first, when I commuted years and years ago before, I think I tried listening to some audiobooks off and on, but then when I got into podcasts, I could hear speakers and interesting topics that aren't quite available on audiobooks. So it just opens the door a lot wider. So very, very interesting. But the topic today is true crime podcast.
You know what's interesting with you though? You don't even have headphones and you still listen to podcasts. Like, if I could listen to podcasts without like headphones.
I have headphones.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I listen to I don't usually, currently, if I'm doing a lot of driving and traveling, I don't need the headphones because I just plug it into the car stereo. But when I'm out and about, sometimes I listen to podcasts on headphones, but I used to more than now. But yeah, so today's podcast is about true crime podcasts. Their effect, how popular they are, because once again, for the efficiency factor, people that are into true crime TV shows or true crime documentaries, that requires you to sit down in front of a screen and watch it. Whereas, once again, the efficiency of podcasts, you can be commuting, you can be out and about in your day, you can be working out, you can be at the gym, and you can actually listen to a podcast. So
you can be cleaning your house, doing laundry. You can do everything physical that doesn't require a lot of auditory information. So, you know, the podcast will take care of your auditory information, and you can do all the physical and visual stuff.
So what have you noticed about the popularity of true crime in general, and then also how true crime podcasts factor into that?
Well, I don't really talk to anyone else about true crime except for the podcast. So, but I mean, I'm guessing just looking at YouTube and podcast online, I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, if you look at YouTube, like you look up Maura Murray or whatever true crime that you want, like there's like about 5 to 10 producers of content for that topic.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about just true crime. I mean, you can actually apply it. Some of your conspiracy research, I know you've looked into some of these slavery rings and a lot of that stuff. That's true crime. So I think you've listened to podcasts of those at least a while ago, right?
Oh yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
So yeah, that that overlaps true crime. So when I ask you what you've noticed of popularity wise, what do you think?
Well, personally, I don't really talk to a lot of people, and I think even then, like I was the only one that listened to podcasts. To tell the truth, the only person I know that listens to podcasts is you, and maybe Johnny Mills.
Yeah,
No, wait, does Johnny Mills listen to podcasts?
yeah.
Like a lot, or just like a select few?
Not sure. Probably not a ton, but he listens to a decent amount, I would say. Probably not as much as you or I, but yeah, he knows. He's told me about a bunch of interesting podcasts as well.
It's such a cool educational tool. Plus the format most of the time is of course it's more fun. Like the MindShock podcast it's more fun when there's people, two or three people involved in the conversation, and they're having a conversation in the podcast. So like that's
Yeah, and I think our mind shockers can chime in. A lot of them have said some of the most entertaining factors of the podcast is the conversational setup where we're going back and forth with ideas instead of just
yeah
reading something like an audiobook and we're
yeah
dissecting different theories. And it's just a very interesting format. It's almost, in ancient Greece, you had the open forum. That's where the word forum comes from. It was actually the forum in the center of
yeah
town where philosophical ideas or anything really could be discussed. And podcasts are kind of an extension of that. And it's just very interesting also to see everything kind of come more full circle. Because I remember a long time ago, years and years ago, when the internet was kind of new and there were just not that many podcasts out. And then when video came out and YouTube came out, everybody was all about the video. And
yeah
now it seems like podcasts are getting more and more popular again because, once again, just for the efficiency factor. And I've heard this pointed out by certain podcasters or even just speakers that the auditory format is just really powerful
yeah.
because it
Well,
goes back thousands
yeah
thousands of years ago, sitting around the campfire, all of these, not just history, but also fictional stories, moral stories, fairy tales, they were all passed down orally. They weren't written down. So the human brain is designed pretty well to take in audio information.
yeah. Except for Maxwell Powers. Ah
Maxwell
man.
Powers. Yeah, you got to pay attention. But they're starting a Maxwell army now. The mind
Uh,
shockers are starting. Keep those comments coming and let us know what future podcasts you want to hear as well. But let's get into. There were actually a couple of podcasts or internet sleuths that have started to solve true crime cases, and
wow.
it's very interesting because the more people talking about it, the more attention is being brought, especially to
Yeah.
some of these cold cases. So it's very interesting how not just internet sleuthing or online forums or websites, but specifically podcasts are gathering more and more interest around some of these cases,
But
especially with having guests. And we're going to be having a lot more guests. We've been behind on quite a number of podcasts, but we're going to have people calling in on podcasts and kind of widening the net to include as much content as possible on the MindShock podcast. But what do you think about that, where just a lot more people can join the conversation as well?
That's really powerful. I mean, because a lot of times, I mean, people don't have time to get in touch with the influencers in any industry. So when a podcaster, content producer contacts a main person in any field, it makes it really interesting. Like those interviews and those conversations. I mean, like I don't have time to call what's his name, and not that he would answer or whatever or talk to me, but Ben Shapiro. I mean, he's he's an awesome guy. Like I would love to talk to him, but I just don't have time. I got to take care of my life. But you can
So you
listen
gotta live.
to.
So you gotta live vicariously through his conversations on podcasts.
Well, like anybody, people don't have time to contact everyone else that they. If you had to contact all the influencers that you like and talk to them, you just won't have time. Plus, you also a lot of times you don't have the expertise to ask the right questions
That's a good point.
to learn from anything. So like I don't know, just think of any situation or field of knowledge that that you lack in,
The
then you can just listen to someone else who's more of an expert than you are. So
The other thing that I find interesting about podcasting as well is that, for example, if you're writing an article for a website or even a Facebook or Twitter comment, if you're pushing a certain theory about a case or whatever it is you're talking about, you can't always get very, very in depth. But on a podcast with multiple guests, they can kind of question the theory or even bring about certain questions or points you might not have thought about,
yeah,
and the discussion can get everything closer to the truth, or it can bring out the weak points of the argument that you didn't know you had to
yeah.
expand upon and possibly lead to even more new theories.
Uh,
So I think it's a very useful tool, and obviously not just for true crime podcasts and looking over cold cases, but also for any subject matter. It's just very, very interesting on how much more progress can be made when every point is discussed. And of course, if you're doing it in a logical fashion, that's always a plus instead of a dogmatic cognitive dissonant fashion, which a lot of people on Facebook or Reddit or some of these other sites, wherever, even YouTube comments, the podcast format allows for that back and forth for truly interesting, logical, and discussions using critical thinking, deductive reasoning, all of these things that can push a certain result forward.
hmm.
Like we have quite a few different podcast series now where there's so many rabbit holes in a lot of these cases to discuss them fully and do justice to each aspect of each theory. You have to go in depth, and even in certain documentary series, unless you're producing some really long format TV show, it's very difficult to cover. But in a podcast format, you can cover quite a bit. I mean,
Yeah.
we have more than 20 episodes of the Maura Murray podcast. We have covered so much on there, and there's actually so much more yet to cover. We're probably going to have at least another 20 episodes just because there's so much information to go over, and there's new information all the time that has to be weighed against the old information to see which theories still are viable or less viable based on the new information that is being released.
Yeah.
So what do
Yeah,
you think?
definitely the audio format is more portable and more available to people. I mean, just think about the Maura Murray podcast. You can't sit in front of the TV or in front of your laptop for another 20 hours of the Oxygen show. You know what I
Well,
mean? Like
some people do, to be fair, but
although
many people.
yeah, some people would, but I think the podcast is more available if you can just play it while you commute, and you have 2-ton vehicles that you can collide with if you know don't pay attention and listen to the
Yeah,
Oxygen show instead.
well, I've actually seen people watching videos on their phones while driving. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's so dangerous. I mean, podcast is also a safer way to drive because you can
yeah.
pay attention to the road while listening to the podcast. So
I,
that's another
yeah,
plus.
exactly my point. Exactly my
Yeah.
point. That's why the longer format of the podcast can go in your car, but not a TV show. You know.
Well, the other extension of that or extrapolation from that is because it's so portable and you can kind of catch up on the facts in a case. You can make progress faster because if something is available like the Oxygen show for Maura Murray, if it's only available as a video format where you need to watch it, there's a very limited amount of time you can do it. You can do it at night. I mean, if people that have
Yep.
jobs or families, there's
Yep.
only so much time in the day, so it'll take them a lot longer to get caught up on the facts of the case. And
Yep.
let's say they were a really good amateur sleuth and they have some legitimate contributions either to promote theories or debunk certain theories or just mull it all over. They're farther behind if it's only available by video format. Whereas with podcasts, they can get caught up quicker, and in a lot of cases, time is of the essence. So
Yep.
the more people looking at it as quickly as possible, the better. So that's another plus of podcasts and how it's kind of changing the media landscape.
Yep.
So where do you see it kind of going from here? Do you think there's just going to be more and more podcasts? Because true crime podcasts are really, really popular.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot more people are gonna jump in. The early adopters will have more, will have a bigger audience, but I think a lot more people will come in as producers because we only came in last year, so
Yeah, we just passed our 1 year anniversary this past
yeah.
Halloween. If you haven't checked out our Halloween episodes, check them out. They're pretty interesting, and some of them kind of spooky. Some of them might be too spooky for Maxwell because Maxwell can't even handle the Mothman series.
Our first Halloween episode, the very first episode that we ever done for MindShock, is really good and funny.
Yeah, we went over quite a few different topics, but
Yeah,
yeah, so we have quite a few requests for true crime podcasts as well. We're going to be doing John Benet Ramsey and the O.J. Simpson case, as well as the West Memphis Three. There's a lot of research that goes into podcasting too, from a producer point of view. Unless you're just putting out, a general willy nilly type podcast where you just kind of go over the same things everybody else goes over. I mean,
yeah,
that's still not super difficult, although getting your equipment together, if you're doing it from a studio, wherever you're doing it, it's not that easy. And there is a certain amount of time consumption. And if you're just doing audio and you're not doing accompanying video, because some people now are actually filming the entire podcast, like Joe Rogan. It was more of a live stream. I think they called it live streaming. Did they even call it podcasting years and years ago?
um,
Because I think you were right. The reason it's called a podcast is because of the iPod. But
yep,
once webcams and live streaming got more popular, I think a lot of times it's just called a live stream versus a
yeah,
podcast. But
yep. Uh,
but yeah, if you're going, well, for you, do you think it's necessary to do video accompanying the podcast? Because for me, I mean, it widens the audience slightly because some people really want to see if they're watching it on their computer or on their phone and they're sitting around and they can watch the video, they can take advantage of that. And then the people that can't, they just won't watch the screen. But
uh,
I don't know. I like the auditory exclusive format because it almost makes you have to pay attention even more
yeah,
because all there is audio. But once again, from a producing point of view, it's not the easiest thing in the world to produce a podcast, especially a podcast series. And the research phase, I know Maxwell does a lot of research, so I don't want to say I'm the only one. I'm the only one that does the research. But it's quite time consuming and then presenting the ideas and then seeing how what you guys think of it and coming up with different angles. It's pretty interesting.
uh,
So I don't know if I see a lot of people starting to do super extensive research for podcasts. Where do you balance entertainment value? Because we haven't really talked about this. Some people are just into true crime for the entertainment factor of it, which,
like ours.
well, I mean, we're actually trying to find out the truth about cases.
Yeah,
Some people just tune in. And I'm not saying to this podcast, but in general, I mean, there's some podcasts called Martinis and Murder, or some of these where they're just, I don't know, it's a little bit strange. Like they're drinking and discussing people going missing or people getting killed. I mean, obviously, we have a certain default standard of joking around which
yeah,
doesn't change too much depending on the content. But that's our standard. It's not like we're specifically going out of our way to joke around on some of these more serious murder disappearance
uh,
podcasts.
yeah,
And for the people that don't know or can't tell, when we're joking around, it has nothing to do with it. We're joking around at each other over what we're saying that has nothing to do with the case.
yeah. Oh,
Like,
it's never about the case.
yeah, I mean, we have
I
got.
don't think we've ever, maybe, I don't think we've ever joked about the case. Maybe some, I don't know. Maybe I did. Have I ever joked around about the case?
I don't know, like we joke around about certain, like if someone calls something kind of funny that has nothing, it has nothing to do with the case. It's just some kind of, if they say something kind of strange, it's about that comment. It has nothing to do with the person that went missing or got killed. And we've actually gotten some comments of people who didn't get that. They thought for whatever reason, I don't know if they were just projecting or their own insecurities about it. They, for some reason, were thinking we were making fun of the victims in some way, which
Yeah,
I think it's bizarre because anybody with basic English comprehension should be able to tell. Like, if you're not paying attention to something and I'm making fun of you not paying attention and I'm finding you funny, that has
yeah,
nothing to do with the case. I'm finding you funny.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Some people don't get it, I
But
guess.
yeah, I think some of them are. I think some of them are emotionally involved in the case. Like they care about Maura Murray, they care about Stephen Avery,
Well, I
and
think everybody, does, and I think it's very obvious that so do we, because we wouldn't even be doing in the podcast in the first place if we didn't.
yeah,
Not to
yeah.
mention the
I feel
amount of
bad.
time.
I feel bad for whatever happened to Maura Murray, or if she's still alive. But I feel bad for the whole family and her friends. It's
Well, yeah, and that's the
kind of
whole point.
sad.
That's the whole point of putting all this effort and energy into the podcast, because when you don't care about something, you don't put any effort or energy into it. Like when you have absolute disdain or disrespect for something, you don't put your time and effort into it.
Yeah,
So it's kind of strange that some people would misconstrue. It's not a lot. There was just a couple people who kind of
yeah,
didn't get it, but or maybe after this explanation now they get it, and it's all good. It's fine. It was,
yeah.
so,
But
but we,
I think they should find relief in the humor that we put out. Like you guys making fun of me because I'm like so lost, and and I think I don't know. Well, actually, well, a lot of them love that. So we just I don't know what my point was, but I think
what your point was about what?
um, I think I don't know. I think my point was, I think people should, if they don't find relief, if they're kind of like offended, well, I don't know. I don't know. They shouldn't be because they should just find relief with the humor
Well, I
that
think, and
we.
this is just my personal opinion, but if you're so somber in your life, it's just it kind of brings you down and people around you down. Like if you're so somber and serious about everything, I think there's a definite distinction between being respectful of people and having a sense of humor. So I think everybody, and especially the victims too, like, I mean, you could think about it. If your relative dies or something horrible happens, are they going to want you to be so somber and down? And of course not. They're going to want you to be happy and joke around. And there's
Yeah,
definitely not directed at them, but in general. So once again, and once again, the Mind Shock podcast is not for everyone. We look at things very logically, and we value the truth and justice above everything else, which some people subjectively interpret some of our humor as offensive, and that's their subjective interpretation. And if they choose to be offended, that's their choice. But we're not trying to offend anybody. And people nowadays get offended over every little thing. So even when it's explicitly not offensive by the person supposedly offending, and everything gets misconstrued. But I just wanted to touch upon that as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with people having a sense of humor or making fun of each other, which is what we do, or making fun of certain situations or certain people, not the victims or the families of the victims. Though, other than that, I mean, I would have to agree. Other than the victims or families of the victims, everything else is pretty much fair game, which we do joke around a lot about a lot of things, but being respectful, especially to the victims and the victims' families, is obviously very necessary, depending on your level of morality. That's what I believe. That I know that's what you believe, and everybody on the podcast now is that's what they believe. So one interesting point about that for anybody that might be starting their own podcast. But at the end of the day, you can't really worry too much about all these different people because everyone is different and everybody is kind of offended or has their own opinions about different things. So you can only really make the best product you can make for the audience that you choose. Not every podcast is going to be from every audience. And I would think that would be obvious. But I mean, once again, like I said, I've gotten weird comments about people who just didn't get it. Like they were just like, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? It's like you're not allowed to laugh on the podcast. So they want to hear
wait,
a podcast.
they actually said that just like that,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
why are you laughing like that?
Yeah. It's like, why are you laughing? Somebody went missing. I mean, obviously, the fact that they went missing and were possibly killed, and all of the pain and grief of the family, that's very sad. But that doesn't mean you can't laugh about other things, you know? That's not funny, but other things are funny. So it's weird. It's like they didn't want any laughing at all or joking around at all. They wanted like a 100% super serious, somber attitude where nothing amusing can be discussed. Because sometimes we're joking around completely about off-topic things. So we joke around about the off topic, but because part of the podcast, it also has to be entertaining too. Like I don't want to bring
Yeah.
people, I don't want to bring people down. I want to bring awareness. I want to bring awareness to these cases. So
Yeah.
hopefully one day they can be solved as soon as possible. But
You know,
different.
I think our approach is really good. I think I'm not sure if you can. I don't know. Can you bring more information or even like solve the case in a serious? I don't know. Maybe I'm not. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I guess
I don't
anything.
know what my point is.
We could be, but I just our personalities. We're not monotone, boring type people. And if you are, I'm not saying don't do a podcast either. For people who might be thinking about launching a podcast, you should do it any way you want to do it. Whatever way you think
Oh yeah,
will
just
accomplish will
yeah.
accomplish your
Put
goal.
yourself out there. You know, like yeah,
Because if it's something you want to do, you should do it and see how far you can take it. And there's an audience for everybody. If someone is listening to this and they're just a super serious type person about everything, so obviously they'd be serious about true crime
yeah.
as well.
Everyone's got their own style. I mean, I like Erin Larkin's style. I mean, she they don't. I don't think they don't. I don't think they laugh that much or even at all.
No,
But she's like
they're pretty
she's
serious.
really
They're business.
she's really pro, and I love her music in the beginning. It's so relaxing.
Yeah,
But I
every
like her approach. You know.
everything has pros and cons, obviously, and every
Yeah.
podcast has an audience that prefers that type of podcast. So,
Yeah.
regardless of what personality you have, if future podcasters want to get into podcasting, you should definitely do it. And I think the more awareness brought to any case, the better. Because
Yeah.
I think it's really, really sad that some of these cold cases are still unsolved and the families of these victims are kind of left hanging. And
Uh,
it's just so horrible. Anything that could bring awareness forward is better because you never know when someone who might have stumbled upon it knows somebody else and just simply mentioning something to them can jog their memory.
we should do an episode on those two podcasts that solve cases.
Oh,
That's really
which
cool.
one specifically solved
I'd
case?
like to do that. We'll do both the podcasts.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, you said there were two podcasts that solved cases, right?
I said there's been a number of cases that have been solved by podcasts, like one or two, maybe more by now. We've talked about them before, but
Uh,
you probably don't remember, Maxwell.
no, I don't remember shit. But we should do an episode on it.
Yeah, so once again, I think true crime podcasts are definitely a good thing because anything that brings awareness is good. And the more podcasts for the more different personality types, the better because some people prefer certain styles over other styles. And as long as people are I mean just my opinion, people should be respectful to the families and the victims. And as long as you're doing that, I'd listen to the podcast. I'm not sure I'd want to listen to a podcast where they're making fun of the victim though, or the family. That's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's all kinds of people out there. Once again, the internet has all kinds of crazies out there. But even that, I mean, I don't know if I would listen to it, but if that's going to somehow solve the case, then I can't say for those people not to do that podcast either.
Yeah.
Because if that's really going to solve the case, and I really think I mean, what are you going to tell the family if the family is like, well, what if there's disrespectful podcasts out there? If they're going to solve the case, they would be like, oh yeah, of course, anything that'll solve the case. There's some strange people out there that are just their brain works in weird ways. Some people would say Alden Olson in the Maura Murray case, he made videos taunting like we don't know exactly who he's taunting. Like how do we know who he's taunted? If he's a crazy lunatic, we don't know if he's taunting the family or James Renner or some of these other people. It's weird, but it generated a lot of publicity and investigation. So from that point, I mean, I can't say it's necessarily a bad thing because if that investigation leads to something, whether it's ruling Alden Olson out as a suspect or finding another suspect, I think it's a good thing because whatever gets to the truth and justice should be held above subjectively finding things offensive or snarky or whatever. There's a lot of weird stuff going on forums and subreddits. It's bizarre out there on the interwebs. So, any final thoughts on true crime podcasts, Maxwell?
I think I'm good.
Do you see future podcasts? Like, if there's that many more, I think the more podcasts there are, the more cases could be solved, because even if you could only solve 1% of cases by podcasts bringing attention to them,
Yeah.
that 1% is good. Let's get thousands and thousands of more podcasts out there to get that 1% as high as possible.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed another edition of the MindShock Podcast, True Crime. If you like our podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell notification for updates on when we upload new videos. And you can check us out on social media, Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter, and Patreon. Just check the link in the description. This is Bruce McGuire signing off.
And Maxwell Powers.
Have a good night.